and today I'm going to be making my mung bean egg dish, which really was a copycat recipe from a popular product that you've probably heard of called Just Egg. And I really like that Just Egg. In fact, you know, I would love to be able to eat it, but if I look at the package contents, it does have expeller pressed canola oil, it does have cornstarch, baking powder, garlic, onion, some turmeric, salt, and some other things that I'm not sure what they are, transglutaminase, so I don't know what that is, but I thought it would be better to make something that didn't have any of those ingredients in it, especially not having the oil. So I looked, and there were lots of recipes for copycats of Just Egg, or they call them mung bean eggs, because essentially they're all made from mung beans or mung dal. And you know, this is something that you can commonly find. It's in a lot of Indian stores and different places, and it's a common dish, but to use it to make an egg replacement is a little bit different. So how do you do that? Well, first you have to take them and soak them. So I have 3/4 of a cup of the mung bean, and it's been soaking for, I like to soak it for like 24 hours. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them in a colander and rinse them again to get them out of my bowl easily. And also, to me, I think the more you rinse them, the better it is, because they do have kind of a strange, I hate to say strange, but they do have a taste that is unfamiliar to me. And I'm not sure it's the most pleasant taste in the world. I'm trying to get the excess water out of here, because my recipe doesn't have that excess water as part of the recipe. So then you get your rinsed mung beans into the blender, and use a high-speed blender if you have one. One thing I found in making my copycat recipe for the Just Egg was that that taste would come through no matter what I did. So I had to figure out a way to make this so that it didn't have, and I don't even know how to describe the taste, but I think you probably would know if you've ever tried to make this. So I had to figure out a way to get it to taste good without the oil and not have any kind of strange taste to it. So here are the ingredients I'm using. This sounds really simple, but I worked really hard to get it to this point where I really liked it. So I'm using a tablespoon of nutritional yeast. Well, here, first of all, liquid. A cup of cashew milk. Some recipes called for soy milk, unsweetened soy milk, oat milk, almond milk, and trust me, I used all these different kinds of milk products, and I didn't like any of them. I tried it with oat milk, I tried it with soy milk, and they left a strange taste too. So I thought, no, I don't like this. Well, cashew milk had the best taste, and the way I made the cashew milk was I made soaked cashews, a cup of cashews, a half cup of water, and made it into like a cream. So it was cashew cream. I took 2 tablespoons of the cashew cream and added it to a cup of water, and then I had my cashew milk. I don't think there's any commercial product you can buy that would taste as good as your own homemade cashew milk, because they all have additives. A tablespoon of nutritional yeast, and I think what you use with that matters too, because I use the sorry nutritional yeast, and it's not fortified, so it has bang, it has a really good flavor. And then a half a teaspoon of kosher salt. Kosher salt that I use is Diamond Crystal, and this is about 1/4 of a teaspoon of black pepper. And then hold on, I have garlic powder, half a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder. This is a half a teaspoon of black salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of turmeric, and then I have a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, 1/8 of a teaspoon of low sodium tamari, because I thought that gave it a nice little kick, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And I forgot, I see on my list I have a teaspoon of baking powder, so I'm going to add that here in just a minute. But you can see there are a lot of ingredients in this, but I found that having all these different ingredients really did make for a better taste for this dish. And the next step, once I go get my baking powder, I'm going to take all of this and I'm going to process it in the blender. And that's the consistency you want after you've blended in the blender. Our next step is to cook it. So I've got my skillet over here. I've got it heating on kind of medium, just medium heat. And what I discovered was using a non-stick pan was great, but I still had to use a little bit of cooking spray initially and then wipe it off. So I put the spray on, but then I wiped most of it off. So that way, that was just enough to keep it from sticking. I found that if I didn't do the cooking spray at all, then no matter what I did, the batch always stuck. So even though I don't normally use cooking spray for this dish, I found that it was really vital. And then I have 1/4 of a cup, measuring cup, and I'm going to measure that in. And then it's important to immediately start moving it around because we want it to be something that we can fold. So we have to kind of spread it out, and you can't use anything to spread it out because it won't spread out. And then we have to let it cook until it can be turned over. So as soon as it's cooked enough to be turned over, we'll flip it over. Oops. All right, so that one was not perfect. I probably flipped it a little too soon, but that's okay. If it's not perfect, you can kind of smash it down a little bit because this, remember, they're going to be folded over. So you're not going to see all parts of it. But this makes about 10 of these little omelets. So it's really kind of cool because one box of the already made ones, I think you get 4, and it's not really cheap. So this is a more economical way to make them and no oil. Okay, so then that side is done. And then I just fold them into like a little folded thing and set them in my plate. Like that. Beautiful. So there you go. And so how many times do you have to oil your pan? You don't have to do it every time. So we can take that same cloth that we use to wipe it off, and we can just kind of run it over your pan a little bit because it has a little residue of the spray, and then we can do it again. And remember, you have to kind of like a crepe. But you want to leave room around the edge so you can pick it up with your spatula. If you make it too big, you won't be able to turn it over. And this is a 10-inch skillet, which is a good size. You could use a bigger one, but I found that I didn't really need a bigger one. And so after making these folded eggs, they have, the consistency of them is very nice. It's kind of a, you can't really see it, but you know, they're not hard like a pancake. They're kind of pliable. So that's how you want them. They should be kind of pliable. And then they taste more like a, sort of like an omelet-like mouthfeel when they're like that. But I've made different ones and used cornstarch and tapioca flour and things that were unnecessary. And when I used those ingredients, then they were like the consistency of a pancake. They were a lot stiffer. And so this is what I'm after. If you start to try to turn it over and it doesn't turn over, that's because it's not cooked enough. So this one, I can tell, I lift it up a little bit and it lifts up really easily, so I know it's ready. And so there it goes. That one was ready to turn. Get it flat on here. I still haven't had a perfect one yet. So I may have to do 3 or 4 of them before I get one that isn't wrinkled. But remember, we fold it so you don't even see that. So don't panic if yours has a wrinkle in it, because it doesn't really hurt anything. And I'll probably just make one more so you can see me make maybe a perfect one. But once you've cooked the one side, it's a lot easier. You can see the bottom of it easier. I'm going to make sure it's cooked all the way. You don't want to overcook it. If you overcook it, then it gets hard. All right, so I think that is good. And then we'll just fold that one. But see, that's the back side doesn't look as pretty, so I like to turn it over. See, the underside is uneven looking, so if you flip it over with the first side, it looks prettier. Then you get that beautiful kind of the egg look to it. We'll put that on top of this one. All right, so we'll make one more. All right, moment of truth. You flip it over. Yay, perfect. Finally. So other than this tiny little dent, but that won't show up. Okay, so you see every time you practice it gets easier and easier, and then you're gonna make maybe 10 of them. So by the time you get to number 3, maybe it'll be perfect. It's just like when you make pancakes, sometimes the first batch doesn't come out well. But just keep making them, it makes a lot, and they freeze really well. The second side doesn't take as long, so remember, flip it over and then do your fold. And then you have your perfect egg. So you can keep them in the refrigerator for a couple of days. I like to just freeze them because when you do that, you can wrap them up individually. And let's go ahead and taste the first one just to see, because it's cooler. And I'll kind of show you what it looks like. It tears apart really well. It's flexible. So be aware of this when you're making it. You want it to be flexible. I really like that. That's the way I wanted it to be. You can put it in your sandwich. You can use some kind of plant-based sausage. You can just eat it like it is. You don't even have to put it in a muffin or toast. You can just eat it, by itself. It doesn't have to be in anything. But it kind of satisfies, that hunger sometimes people have for things they used to eat and don't eat anymore. And there was a lot of interest in this. So I hope you decide to make this egg substitute. Call it Mung Bean Egg, copycat, just egg, whatever you want to call it. I think you'll enjoy it. And you can definitely use it for sandwiches. You can use it for omelets. If you wanted to use it for an omelet, put it in the pan, put your vegetables and different things on it, roll it up, and you'll have an omelet. But I would make sure you cook the vegetables before you put them in the mung bean egg. And be sure and get a high quality product of the mung dal. I get the organic version, and this tastes really good. I think if you get some that have been sitting in the store shelves and they're dusty and they've been there for years, you're not going to have the same taste. So thanks for watching my video, and I hope you make this, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I've been enjoying it, and let me know how you liked it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.